Hi friends, Mickey Mankis here and welcome to Out the Back Door. Today I was gifted a couple of boxes of corn on the cob. Well, I'm going to end up canning this, so join me. I'm sure you all know how to peel a corn on the cob, but what I'm going to start with is I'm going to cut off the butt end here first. Now actually, it's a little bit easier for me to peel it a little backwards. Instead of pulling from the top down, I'm pulling from the bottom towards the top. And then we're going to make sure that we try to get off all the silk, or get off as much as possible. I just kind of rub it around my hand like this. Okay, what I've got is just a plain bowl. It doesn't matter what kind of a bowl you're using, just so it's deep enough to catch all of your corn. I've also got a small dish here that I set down upside down into the center of my bowl. And the reason for that is because as long as I've got a flat end here, this is going to be a lot safer. I'm going to set it upright on that little dish that's upside down in here. And then I'm going to start cutting the corn from the cob. Now, I don't have one of those fancy gizmos that they use to take the corn off of the cob. I just use my knife. So as you can see, all of the kernels are going to be dropping down in here and they'll be caught there, so we don't have them splashing all over the table and everything else. As you can see, I have a little bit of corn to start peeling and everything. In fact, I've got a couple of boxes like this. So I'm going to finish shucking all the corn, and then I'm going to take the kernels off of the cob, and then we'll get to the next step of canning. As you can see in the picture here, I have all of the corn shucked. Now, I decided it was time to come inside to finish taking all of the corn off of the cobs because it was just too hot outside and I needed to take a break and come in for a little bit. So I do have all of the corn off. I have a total of approximately 33 cups. Now the canner that I have out right now will hold 16 wide mouth pint jars. And so that would be 32 cups. But that's all right because I didn't get a chance to have any corn on the cob. So what I'm going to do, if I do have extra, then I'll just save that for a meal and I can warm it up, put some butter on it and salt, and I have my corn on the cob but ready to shovel in my mouth instead of trying to chew it. I need to get this finished up. It's going to be a late night of canning. The heat is underneath the canner right now, and I've got my 2 inches of water in the bottom there. Whatever pressure canner you are using, make sure that you're reading the manual and you know how much water you're supposed to put in. Just a reminder, you put your water in first and then your jars in, not the other way around. I also have a pot on the stovetop right now warming up also, and that has my Tatler lids in it. And then I also have a Dutch oven with just plain water in it that I'm heating up to a boil. I'm going to put Himalayan salt in. You don't have to put salt into your jars of corn. You can leave it out. It isn't that it's a preservative. I put it in there for flavor. Now, I would strongly suggest not using table salt because it's got iodine in it. And what happens is the liquid in your jar will get all cloudy because of that. If that's all you have, that's fine. But I'm just telling you why we say don't use table salt. As soon as my jars are hot in the oven, then I'm going to be taking those out and I'll start jarring up the corn. You don't have to sterilize your jars because we are going to be pressure canning and it's going to be more than 10 minutes, so that isn't a concern. But just make sure that your jars are good and clean, and remember to check the rims and everything for any nicks, cracks, anything like that. I don't do it that often, and one time I had a failure and I couldn't figure out why, and I inspected the jar and hello, that was the problem. As soon as the jars are out, I'll come right back. Jars are nice and hot, and I'm going to start jarring this up. The corn, you do not want to pack it. Just put it in there loosely, and we're going to leave a 1-inch headspace. Now I want to make a comment. I had a viewer one time actually correct me, which is fine. I had mentioned that when I was using the tattlers that I put an additional 1/4 inch to it, so it would have been a 1 1¼ inch headspace. And he kept saying, there's no way you've got a 1¼ inch headspace on those jars. I said, well, yeah, and then I looked and I thought, well, okay, they were 1 inch. And so I tried to explain that to him. He said, no, measure from the top down. I said, well, from the shoulder up, it's 1 inch. So he told me to go ahead and measure from the top down. 1 inch would be below the shoulder here, you know, this bottom rim. And I'm like, wow. Well, thank you for correcting me and that I know. Years ago, that's how we were taught. So far, it looks like I've got 1 inch. I am going to be adding salt, like I said. For the pint jars, I'm adding 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and you don't have to. I tasted some of the corn earlier when I was shucking it, and it is so sweet. At least when I'm using the pink Himalaya salt, I can definitely see if I've put salt in that jar or not. Now I'm going to bring my boiling water over and I'll start adding that. Alright, and this is another thing. See, I might have to take a little bit of water out of that one. Make sure you do not exceed that 1 inch. Make sure that you're debubbling. And this is going to be a little bit easier to do, being that we didn't pack the corn in. As you can see, I'm all ready to start wiping the rims off too. But being Mr. Mankus isn't around right now, I was just too tired and maybe lazy to start hauling everything out and setting things up into my outdoor kitchen. So I'm heating everything up here. All right. Now, for our elevation, I am going to be processing at 10 pounds. You do the appropriate poundage for your area. Okay, I am going to be doing the second load here. 8 jars will fill the bottom of the canner. And then I'll put a second rack in there and put the remainder of the 8 jars in. Now, had I known that I was going to probably be able to stick another 3-4 jars in there, I would have grabbed the next size up as far as the canner, but that's okay. I'm going to put the cover back on to keep these warm while I do the next tray of them. And then I will let you know how long we're going to be processing and all that good stuff. I filled up the rest of the jars and I've got the canner loaded. I've locked down the lid and everything. I am going to bring this up to temp, so I start venting, and just remember to vent for 10 minutes. As I had mentioned before, I am going to be processing at 10 pounds, but for the pints, I will process for 55 minutes once I come up to pressure. And then remember, you let it come down naturally on its own. Don't try to force it or anything. So I did notice that I didn't do very good estimating my measurements. As I mentioned earlier, the jars, I believe the manufacturer must consider the pints when it's totally filled to the top, because with that extra 1-inch headspace and all of the jars, that was probably 1 or 2 more jars that, you know, I could have filled up. But as long as I had already had the bottom filled up and everything, I wasn't going to go and dig out another canner so that I could get them all in at one time. What I'll end up doing, I'll just put this in the refrigerator for tonight. It's getting a little bit too late to be messing around with this, but I'll blanch the corn. And once I do, then I'll put it into my food saver bags, and I'll actually put a little bit of butter in there and a little bit of salt, and I'll seal them up, and then I'll stick them in the freezer. That way we've got corn on the cob ready to go at any time that we want. And the bags I really like with the food saver because you can actually cook in the bags. If you didn't see my video on a boil-a-bag omelet, I'll leave a link to that. That I would be using the same process as far as, like I said, that would be kind of the corn on the cob in the bag. I could just heat up water in a pot and then take the bags of the corn out and drop them in there and let them cook for 5-6 minutes at the very most, as long as they're thawed out. And then all I have to do is cut it open, and I've got like yummy corn on the cob. That really sounds good. Yeah, I'm going to save some of this for tomorrow for my supper. So that's the point we're at right now. Like I said, we're just starting this. Yes, it's 8:30 in the evening, and hopefully, being this is my smaller canner, that we will be up to, that we'll be able to start venting in a half an hour maybe. It takes a while with these big canners. So anyway, all right, when we get to that point and I start pulling the jars out, I'll show you what they look like. It's 11 o'clock. I just turned the heat off from underneath the canner. So being it's this late, I'm very grateful that I didn't get the outdoor kitchen set up. Otherwise, I'd be sitting outside in the dark. Well, I'd have a light on, but I'm grateful that I decided to do it in here. But we have kind of a storm front coming in right now. I was checking the radar, and instead of just sitting up and waiting for the pressure to drop and then tape when I'm taking, taking the jars out and stuff, I need to go and take a shower before this front comes in, because we happen to lose power quite a bit. And if I lose power, I have no water. I do have backup source of drinking water and stuff, but I mean, as far as like being in the shower, I don't want to be in there if the power goes out. So anyway, all right. So I got off topic there for a moment, but anyway, so I'm going to say goodnight to you now, and I'll see you in the morning when I show you how the jars turned out and everything, and make sure hopefully they all sealed, that type of thing. So, all right, I'll check in with you later. Good morning, friends. I finally got the jars taken out of the canner. It was about midnight, so that was a little bit of a long day there. I'm just checking the jars right now, and then I'll get them into the sink. I'll wash them up, and I will label them, and then get them down into the pantry. But yeah, this all looks pretty good. So here's our corn, and I can hardly wait to dig into one already, because it's going to be like corn on the cob. It really is. It's way better than store-bought corn. But anyway, did you notice I'm wearing corn color? Actually, I am getting ready to go to a 10-year anniversary party for our church. And there's going to be all sorts of big games and bouncy house and everything for the children to have fun in and all that. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to grab some cookies that I baked recently and bring those along with me. And I am going to plop my butt down into my tube chair and pull that old lady card and just sit and enjoy. I'm going to take the day off. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell and give me a thumbs up, and share, please. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below, because I really would like to hear from you. So until next time, you have a wonderful day. God bless.